It's really about what's that one small thing over time, making 1% change over time. This is how we build those lasting physical, mental, spiritual habits that we need to sustain change in our life.
You're listening to What the Gut, a functional medicine and holistic health podcast for busy women who are ready to take charge of their health without the overwhelm. I'm Allison, your host, a double board certified family nurse practitioner specializing in functional medicine, here to help you decode the gut hormone connection and finally get the answers that you've been searching for. In this space, we're cutting through the confusion and diving deep into holistic wellness. Because feeling your best is not just about another diet or quick fix. It's about understanding your body, healing from the inside out, and making sustainable changes that fit into your real, busy life. From gut health to energy struggles, hormonal imbalances to sustainable weight loss, I'm bringing you practical strategies, expert insight, and real talk that will help you thrive, not just survive. So if you're ready to finally feel good in your body again, hit that subscribe button and let's do this together. Quick reminder, this podcast is for educational and empowering purposes only, and it is not intended as medical advice. Be sure to consult with your personal healthcare provider for personal recommendations. Welcome to What the Gut, where we take control of our health one episode at a time. My guest today is Cori Myka, the founder of Calm Within Adult Swim. With over 25 years of experience in adult swim education, Cori specializes in helping adults overcome their fear of water using a powerful combination of mental and physical training techniques. Through her programs and swim retreats, Cori has transformed the lives of countless individuals, guiding them to become confident swimmers and embrace personal growth beyond the water. We're going to chat about her unique approach, her inspiring journey from non-swimmer to expert coach, and how she's empowering others to face their fears head on. Cori, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm really excited to have you here today. I did not know that there was such thing as a coach for adults who were afraid of water, and it's great. It's great.
Most people don't really realize that half of adults don't know how to swim. It's
Yeah.
really pretty common.
And to me, like, I never really realized that. I grew up swimming a lot. We had a pool in my neighborhood and we would go all the time after school. But if you don't learn when you're a kid, yeah, I can imagine like you just never learn how.
It's very historic. Like you said, it's part of your family culture. So it does pass along either way, generationally, right? People who can swim and people who can't swim. And yeah, it's very tied to our history of our country and this sort of thing of who's allowed to recreate and who's not allowed to recreate. So it has a lot of deep seated roots. And sometimes it just has to do with a particular person's personality and way of approaching things, right? You've
Yeah.
got kids, right? They all have their own particular ways that they approach the world. And
Yeah.
some people need a little more space, and some people can just get thrown in.
Yeah. That's so interesting. Now, I know like you've got this journey of being a non-swimmer to this coach who helps adults overcome this fear. So, how did you get into what you do now? When did you learn how to swim?
I did learn how to swim when I was quite young because it was part of my family culture. But the piece that I think is probably interesting to folks is that I didn't really learn how to swim in swimming lessons. I actually failed every swimming lesson. To your work, I would have a stomach ache, an ear infection. Like there was always some physical
Yeah.
symptom of why I couldn't finish a swimming lesson. And really, at the end of the day, is I just didn't trust the teachers. I didn't trust the teachers. I didn't trust the situation. I physically would get ill to be out of it.
Yeah.
I did trust the water and trust myself, and I was drawn to the place. So I would go to the pool and play a little game I've called Lost in Outer Space as a small child and really tuned into myself and tuned into the water and discovered how it worked. And then I joined swim team, which is where I learned how to do competitive strokes. But that really came after understanding how my body and the water work together.
Yeah. So, because you had that fear of the teacher or just not trusting them, how does that shape your approach now that you use with adults?
It does hugely because this is what we're doing is the first job of an adult is to keep themselves safe, right? And our body sends us signals when we know something is off. And it could be because of a memory from the past, or it could be because you're worried about falling into the ocean, which is a way distant future thing.
Yeah.
So it's really about coming into the present time and seeing what is it that I actually need to be physically and mentally safe in this moment in time? And do I have those things? And then if it's yes, what is my one next tiny step? So it's really about teaching people to tune into themselves to be their own trusted guide.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting.
Kids do it naturally. Like, how many times do you see a toddler sit on the ground screaming and refusing to do whatever it is that doesn't occur as good for them right in the moment?
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is how we learn so many things. How did we all learn to walk? Nobody put it on a schedule, nobody put it on a timeline. You
Yeah.
babies, kids, all of us, we tuned into ourselves to feel like when we were balanced. Today felt like the right day for one step. Tomorrow felt like the right day to practice rolling over instead of walking.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
That's true. Yeah.
yeah, all those things. Yeah. It's when we develop our frontal lobe that we start to get in the way of that intuitive process.
Right. You have these retreats where you have these specialized swim lessons for adults. What is that like compared to just traditional swim lessons?
Yeah, I just got back from one and we had the most amazing time. So, really, what we're doing is because there's so few people who specialize in this and teach in this particular way, we want to make it so people can come and learn. And so we have 18 to 20 hours that we're working together in a 3 to 5 day span, depends on the specific retreat. But so people are getting a lot of information, a lot of foundational information to which then go back home to their local place and implement it.
Yeah.
Most of the lessons, most people's lessons like once a week for 30 minutes or 45 minutes, but if you're new to something, you're just getting acclimated after 10 or 15 or 20 minutes, right? We need time to let our system settle down and repeat previous information before we're ready to open into new information. So that is all available in the retreats.
Yeah. So do y'all just go somewhere where there's like a big pool and hang out and talk and learn?
Yeah,
So fun.
it is. Yeah. The last one that I just did was in Boston and it is amazing rehab pool because that's one of the things that we look for is warm water as well. But yeah, it's this amazing rehab pool that we sat next to the Charles River and watched these huge container ships go by as we were chatting and understanding the roots of all these things and the framework in which how to approach learning, and then we apply it in the pool. So we do like about an hour on land talking, and then we have 2 hours in the pool, and then we take a break.
That's awesome. Now, what are some of the biggest misconceptions that you have found as far as like learning how to swim?
Yeah, the top misconceptions is that I have to float or be buoyant, or floating is like horizontal to the surface of the water. So that's one really big misconception. Our fastest swimmers in the world, if they were to stop swimming and just relax, they would sink. They're not buoyant. And it's
Yeah.
okay. It's normal.
Yeah.
It's what we do with that information that's super important. So that's a big one. The other big one is people have the assumption that treading water equals safety in the deep water. And that's a huge misconception. That it's really you have to know how to be calm and safe and restful in order to learn how to tread. So
Mm.
it goes the opposite direction.
Yeah. That's interesting. And I know you take this holistic approach, combining mental and emotional healing with this physical training. Can you share how this approach works and why that is so effective?
Yeah, I'd say two things. The biggest danger is panic, right? That's a mental skill, is understanding how to come back to calm so you're effective in what you're doing. We've all seen the movie, right, of somebody running away from the bad guy and tripping and falling in a way that's, come on, you know how to run.
Yeah. That was fake.
Yeah, but it's this but we do know this, like, we do weird things when we're in panic, when we're at this emotional heightened state. Some things are useful. Sometimes it's useful to have a hit of adrenaline, but most of the time we're overdoing it and we're not effective and not able to bring in information or connect to our body. So panic is the biggest, I see, is the biggest danger in the water. And then the other one is this piece of, maybe I'll put it in the category of bravado, like everybody else is doing, or who can swim out to that place, or pushing each other, or this way that we put ourselves into danger. We don't know what to do with it. And so we literally get in over our heads. And there's some places that you can do that in life. The water really just isn't one of those places. It is a much more dangerous situation in terms of if you don't know what to do.
So, and all of this could really apply to anything, not just like swimming, but I think, especially for adults, if they can associate that with other things, it's okay. This is just another thing I need to learn how to do. It's not, it takes the fear out of it.
Yeah. And it's really about taking things one small step at a time. We have this paradigm we talk about, the infinite 1%. We think if we want to make a change in anything in our life, how we're eating, how we show up in our relationships, how we show up at work, and we're like, I'm doing it this way. I need to make a 90-degree turn or a 180-degree turn, which overwhelms the brain and is something that you can force yourself to do for a very short period of time. And it's too much. So it's really about what's that one small thing over time, making 1% change over time. This is how we build those lasting physical, mental, spiritual habits that we need to sustain change in our life.
Yeah. Now, what was it exactly that got you into teaching adults to overcome this fear?
So despite my like not finishing the swimming lessons, the water is a place that I always loved and was in. It was what I did in high school and college for my summer job and taught swimming, lifeguarding, that whole kind of deal. But this student that like stood out to me that I can still remember is this older woman. And now that I'm getting to be an older woman, I'm like, I don't know, maybe she was 60. I thought she was 100. I don't know. I was 15. It was
Yeah.
presumption. But she was old enough to that her children were grown. And just listen, I was supposed to teach her how to swim. I helped her somewhat. I was 15 years old. I wasn't,
Yeah.
but didn't have all the tools at the time, let's just say. But I had the average amount of tools of what people teach swimming with. But her story was so compelling to me. This story and narrative about she didn't learn to swim because she was told girls can't do athletic things, aren't allowed to move in these certain ways. And so her brothers could swim, but she wasn't taught to swim. And just hearing that narrative and seeing her at her older age say, this just isn't true. I can see other women do this. And for her to stand up for herself and to go
Yes.
out and do this thing that had so many years of being held a part of, she just really inspired me. And it's really that curiosity and interest. And I worked with other adults over time, and I could teach them the physical skills and I'd say, "How was it?" And they give me this deer in the headlight look. They had no idea what was going on. And I thought, okay, this way of doing things isn't working. So it was a really interesting puzzle to figure out, like, how do we do this differently? Yeah.
Yeah. So, for somebody who does have this lifelong fear of water, what would you say is the first step for them to overcome this fear and really begin feeling more confident about being in the water?
The first thing I think listening to something like this is to know that you're not alone in it. That always, because these things bring on shame and embarrassment and things like this when we're like, oh, every kids learn to do this. And so people don't really talk about it that much. Come visit our website or our YouTube page and understand you're not alone in this. And I always tell people the best learning is to start at home behind your computer where you don't even have to put a swimsuit on yet. You don't have to do that step.
Yeah.
That could be a barrier.
Yes, I didn't think about that part. Just putting the bathing suit on sometimes might be discouraging.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's the wonderful thing about having swimming really being opened up culturally to more people. So now we do have more swimsuit options available.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is wonderful. So start with that. Start with learning online. Start with understanding more about it and about the process and give yourself some space. And I tell people too, swimming lessons, learning anything doesn't necessarily start with doing all the thing, like this infinite 1% concept. It's engaging in it bit by bit over time, right?
Yeah.
So starting with some videos, grabbing some content, making an inquiry at a pool, right? One step at a time and rewarding yourself mentally for doing those steps.
Okay. So you don't have to go just jump in the pool right away.
You don't have to just jump in the pool right away. Because it is figuring out if I were to jump in the pool right away, what would freak me out? What would be my concern? And
Okay.
then we have some information to go, how do I address that concern? Instead of just being the just do it attitude and just push. We need to listen to what the questions and the concerns are, because that informs you what you need to learn about and what
Yeah.
we need to uncover.
Yeah. I like that. Just don't even have to start near the fear. Just learn about it, what it is,
Right.
what
Hmm.
water is like, and that kind of thing. So I'm curious, do you ever meet people who it's not so much a fear of water, but like maybe the ocean instead of a pool? Or, okay, because your background right now is the ocean. And I do not like water, but I cannot see like into
Yeah.
the bottom of it. It terrifies me. It terrifies
Hmm.
me for my children to be in the ocean if we go to the beach. It is the most unrelaxing vacation I can ever think of. What do you tell those people?
Yeah. So it's the same approach. And matter of fact, next month we're going to Hawaii, teaching people to swim in the ocean, learning how to swim in the ocean. And
I need to
this
find
is
an
a
excuse to go
like
to Hawaii now.
I know. It was so fun. Hawaii, Mexico, yeah, all the places. It was just in
Yeah.
the Philippines. So really the fear that you're describing is the fear of the mind. What is in a place that I can't see?
Yeah.
And so it is about learning, how is it that I actually know that I'm safe? What do I actually need to have and do to know that I'm safe? I am an excellent swimmer, but if I were to go into fresh water in Mississippi, I would spend some time learning about what animals are or are not there.
Yes. The alligators.
Exactly. There is some water that is not advisable to swim in, not because it's a swimming problem, but because there's something. So it's spending time educating and understanding, is this the right time and the right place to do this? I swim in my lake here. It's a freshwater lake. We don't have snakes or alligators in our freshwater here. I'm in Washington State. But you cannot see through it. Like it's dark. So we do have to practice. I use my senses, right? My senses know that nothing's biting me. My senses know, you know, where the air is and, where my safety is. My safety comes from within. It doesn't come from those external places.
Yeah. That's interesting. That's never been a fear that I've wanted to overcome though, but I do feel led to because I don't want that fear to go towards my children. Like I don't want my children to be afraid of the ocean just because I am. And that's really hard because my oldest loves to swim and loves being in the water and going to the beach and getting all sandy and everything. But I feel like I need a Xanax if I'm going to go. So I'm thinking about doing that.
You do want to look out. Like I always talk about creating a container of safety. A swimming pool prevents a very tidy container of safety, right? You literally know what the container is. You literally can see where the drop offs are and that space and distance. It doesn't have currents and things like that. So if you're going to open water, you have to create that container of safety there too. This is why you go to public beaches that have roped off areas or have lifeguards or have information about what's in the water, that sort of thing. You go to a beach that, like when we go to Hawaii, we go to beaches that have breaks or reefs to make a container that is in there.
Yeah.
So that's some of the stuff that you can implement in those sorts of areas.
Okay.
Air always has to be easy. This is why life jackets are useful and important. Is air possibly not going to be easy? Then you want to have some sort of a flotation device. You have to have air always be easy. So you're looking
Yeah.
for those containers. And by the way, even for me as a swim instructor, a lifeguard, so is my spouse, and we have kids who can swim. But there is something about your kids. I like have this invisible, I'm like, oh, it's like that umbilical cord. They'll
Yeah.
go out. And I actually, when my kids were learning to surf, I had to go learn to surf too, or go out with them because it helped me. I just needed that physical proximity to understand where they were at and what the conditions of the water was when they're out on that board that is far away from shore where they were learning. Oh, yeah, it's only 3 feet deep here and there's no rip currents. But I could only know that when I went out there with them.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So no beaches here. Maybe we'll just go to the Hawaii beaches. I don't know. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's so interesting. Cori, this has been just a really cool conversation. I really enjoyed it. And I really hope and maybe I can start to try to overcome my fear of the ocean or the water I can't see. It's encouraging.
Yeah. If you're willing, if you want to. The neat thing about learning to swim as a modality of understanding fear and learning and trust, it's so otherworldly, right? It does really give people an opportunity to play with those concepts because we use them everywhere in our life. But the reverse is true too. You can play with the concepts of fear and confidence and trust in other zones first, and then see, oh, how is it that I could apply this to this other area as well? So
Right.
they build on each other. So you don't have to do it right now. You could just do other
Yeah.
areas that you're more curious about right now. This will go into my swimming journey one day if I want to go there.
Okay. That's yes, I like that. That's a fun way to approach it of not
Yeah.
make so that it's not so intimidating. Cori, is there anything else that you want to leave our listeners with today? I know we can find you on Instagram at Calm Within Adult Swim, and I'll link that in the show notes. But do you have a website or anything else that you want to share with
We
my
do. So our YouTube page also 'cause I mentioned videos. So that's the Calm Within Adult Swim is another great place if you want to just dip your toe in the water. But
I'm like, you did it.
yeah, adultswimlesson.com is our website. So if you want
Okay.
to look at retreats and whatnot, that's the place
And
to
how
go.
often do you do retreats?
So we do local ones here in Seattle about once a month. We have ongoing regular programming all the time too. And then at other locations, we have them going around all year round. Let's just say that. They go
Yeah.
different.
If it's somebody who does not live local, can they still come to these retreats?
Yes. And that's where we do in Seattle, which is our main hub. We do what I call local classes and
Yeah.
retreat class. And
So
then
we
we
could come there or we could go on one of these where you actually travel somewhere else or whatever.
exactly. Yeah. We've got a fun one coming up in outside of Portland area where we have housing that goes with it. And so we have different types and different styles in
Yeah.
Arizona. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here today, Cori. This was really cool.
Thanks for having me.
That's a wrap on today's episode of What the Gut. I'm so grateful that you're here, and I hope you're walking away with insights that bring you closer to feeling your absolute best. If you loved this episode, it would mean the world to me if you would take a moment to leave a review. It helps more people like you find this podcast and get the answers that they need. And don't forget to hit that subscribe so that you never miss a new episode. Let's keep the conversation going over on Instagram. Find me at Allison Gets Well for daily gut health tips, behind the scenes, and more ways to support your wellness journey. I would also love to hear what topics you want covered in future episodes. If you have a burning question or a guest that you'd love to hear from, shoot me an email at hello@allisongetswell.com. If you're ready for real personalized support on your health journey, check out my one-on-one coaching program at allisongetswell.com. Let's get you feeling amazing from the inside out. Until next time, stay curious, nourish your body, and take care of your gut. Catch you soon. Hey friend, let's talk about something real. bloating, stomach pain, and fatigue. You do not have to live like this. I know because I was there too. I was frustrated, exhausted, and trying everything, but still felt miserable. And that's exactly why I created my Get Well one-on-one gut health coaching program to help women like you finally get to the root cause of your symptoms, heal your gut, and feel like yourself again. No more guessing, no more band-aid fixes, just real, sustainable solutions tailored to your body. So if you're ready to ditch the bloating, boost your energy, and actually enjoy food without discomfort, let's do this together. Head to AllisonGetsWell.com or reach out to me on Instagram at AllisonGetsWell to learn more and apply today. Because you deserve to feel good in your body every single day.